أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربي أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه وادخلني برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إسرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين آمين وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Welcome everyone. Inshallah we will continue with the 17th word. We were discussing about He is the enduring one. So getting to know and realize in our practical lives, in our living, that really there is someone who is taking care of us, who is ever living and enduring one. Of course, we see the transience in this world. We know that we are all growing, aging, changing at every moment. And we discussed last time about the secrets and hidden matters in his dominions. So all the things that we see in the universe, how they introduced us to who the absolute owner is, who this enduring one is. So it goes into the ghaibi part of the meaning that we get. So we conclude about there must be an enduring one. So I will continue with these phrases, which mostly are introducing the qualities of how this author is concluding in this part of the section, basically by using his human side, looking at the universe. And he's been going on with this kind of phrases from the first table, second table, where he made a comparison of what beliefs brings into one's life, how knowing the necessity of, or living with the understanding and necessity of an enduring one is so worthwhile and beneficial to the human being, as opposed to something where there's no hope, no point of support, meaninglessness, and despair. So I'll just reread this section. And if looking for your comments, if you guys would like to share, please, let's make it a team effort. So he is the enduring one, the wise judge of affairs. We are under his decree. He is the just arbiter. So these are conclusions that wise judge of affairs. So everything that we see, of course, is judged according to, in a wise manner. There's no injustice. Everything comes with justice, although we may see some injustices, but those are part of, within the umbrella of the absolute just one. And we are under his decree. He is the just arbiter. His are the heavens and the earth. The one knowing of the secrets and hidden matters in his dominions. He is the all-powerful, self-subsistent. His is all from the throne to the ground. So we discussed, I think, most of it. So I'll just stop once we finish this. So the perceiver of the fine points and embroideries in his art. Of course, so whatever he makes, all the art that he's the artist of, so he knows what he's doing, so he perceives it. So the one who is all-knowing. He is the creator, the loving one. His is the beauty and the splendor. So all the beauty and the splendor shows that he is the creator and the loving one. The glorious one, whose attributes are reflected in the mirrors in his creation. So the attributes that we see are being reflected in the mirrors of creation are pointing to the glorious one, because they belong to not to the things or the mirrors themselves. Can we say the reflection that we see in the mirror belongs to the mirror itself? No, it's just a reflection of an actual object. So it points to the glorious one. He is the Lord, the most holy. His is the might and the grandeur. His is the might and the grandeur. The originator of creatures. The originator of creatures, we form the embroideries of his art. So at every moment we are given existence, we are formed and embroidered by in an artful way. If we can look at ourselves, we can look at the universe in this way. So we form the embroideries of his art. I mean, can we say that I made my own self? Can I say my face is designed by myself? My eyes that I used to see with are given by myself? No, so there is an origination of each and every particle dot that is originated by him. So he's known as the originator of creatures. We form the embroideries of his art. He is the constant, the enduring one. Constant, the enduring one. His is the dominion and eternity. So I think we stopped here, or no, we did the next one too. The munificent bestower of gifts. Munificent bestower of gifts. We are the caravan of his guests. So we are the caravan of his guests. So we are being served at every moment, at all the time, just like a traveler traveling gets to a resting place. We can think of it, I understand it that way, at least we are the caravan of his guests. But if you have any thoughts, please share that as well. He is the provider, the sufficer. His is the praise and laudation. So whatever we are praising and laudation actually belongs to him. Although we may praise, I don't know, some beautiful thing out there, some individual, but all the praise belongs to the one who is the real bestower, owner, provider, sufficer. So his is the praise and laudation. All praise belongs to the owner of the universe, Rabbul Alameen. The beauteous grantor of gifts. The beauteous grantor of gifts. We are the weavings of his knowledge. So we are the weavings of his knowledge, something very interesting. We are the weavings. Like you weave a carpet with strings, so we are weaved with his knowledge. We are the weavings, or a result of his knowledge. So there must be a grantor of gifts. He is the creator, the faithful. His is the munificence, the giving. His is the munificence, the giving. He is the creator, the faithful. The faithful. It's an interesting name, quality of faithful in his promises and what he's doing, in his knowledge, justice, wisdom. The creator, the faithful. His is the munificence, the giving. The hearer of plaints and supplications in his creation. So whatever each and every being or the things in the universe whatever their supplication, whatever they are looking for in their existence, whatever their planes are. So he hears whatever he is created. He, the hearer of plaints and supplications in his creation. There must be someone who must hear our plaints, our supplications, even though we may complain or plaint to individuals, but they're just individual beings like myself, created beings who are also in need. So really there must be someone we can go to, supplicate to, that must be ever enduring, all powerful, ever living, not a created being like me that is contingent, dependent. All my supplications must be going to that absolute hearing one. He is the merciful, the healer. His are the thanks and the praise. He is the merciful, the healer. His are the thanks and the praise. So all the thanks that we do and the praise that, so we discuss the praise, all the thanks as well. Even though we thank the individual, yes, we should do, but that's a start. But through that thank, we are thanking the one who is the merciful one, the healer. So the pardoner of the faults and sins of his servants. The pardoner of the faults and sins of his servants. That's an important one. We need somebody who, we make mistakes. We need somebody to forgive us for those shortcomings, faults, mistakes, sins. And of course, we feel always, we have that feeling of guilt, feeling bad when we do something wrong. That's why we need this relationship of finding the enduring one, the absolute one. So he is the pardoning one, the one who really forgives, pardons mistakes. He is the oft forgiving, the compassionate. His is forgiveness and acceptance. He is the oft forgiving, the compassionate. His is forgiveness and acceptance. His is forgiveness and acceptance. I feel we really need to reflect on these qualities, on how we're living as well. Reflecting the quality of forgiveness, compassionateness, being forgiving and accepting as well. So it all comes from him. So whenever we see any compassion from a mother to a child, an animal nurturing the young ones, somebody watering the plants, feeding the animals, it's all part of, although it's a very kind and compassionate act that we witness, but it points to the compassionate one who is arranging all the compassion that we see in this world. His is forgiveness and acceptance. O my soul, together with my heart, weep and cry and say, I am ephemeral. I do not want such as that. So I am ephemeral. I do not want one such as that. And I think in this section we did discuss La uhibbul afilin. I love not those that set from the Abrahamic teachings. So I am ephemeral. Together cry, I do not want such as that. So look for the eternal one, the one that is not ephemeral. I am impotent. I am in need. I only seek and ask and pray I do not want one such as that. So I want the one that provides, that gives. I don't want somebody who is in need as well. So I have surrendered my spirit to the most merciful. If I surrender my spirit to the most merciful, I do not want another. Yeah, so this is surrendering to the absolutely most merciful one. I want one, but I want an eternal friend. Oh, I want one, but I want an eternal friend. It's interesting. So looking for friends, you look for the eternal friend. All the other friends are ephemeral, just like myself. But I want an eternal friend. I am a mere speck, a little tiny ant in the universe, but I want an eternal sun. Enormous, amazing understanding, qualities, humanity, human side of mine that seeks an eternal sun or eternity, wants to find the eternal one or the enduring one. I am nothing but nothing, yet I want these things, all of them. Yeah, as a created being in the grand scheme of things, I'm just like every other created being, but with tremendous potentiality to develop and grow and learn. And I want all of them. Yeah, I don't want to lose any of the qualities that are given to me. Yes, so there's no end to my wanting. I want everything. I want these beings, all of them. All right, so this was more of the reflections on he is the enduring one in terms of phrases or poetry, I would say, introducing us to many qualities that we can reflect on, wonder about, try to reflect in our being as mirrors, and really establish our relationship with the enduring one. So I will move along unless anybody would like to comment on anything, want to share any thought in this passage. My soul together with my heart weep and cry and say. So it's just bringing the audience, the readers, along with in this reflection of his spirit, soul that is realizing what the reality of the created things are and how to connect them to their owner, the enduring one, the permanent one. All right, so let's move on to the next part, a fruit of the pine, cedar, juniper, and black cypress trees. It's a lot of trees in the uplands of Barla. There's the fruit of the pine, cedar, juniper, and black cypress trees in the uplands of Barla. Interesting title. While being a part of the 11th letter, this has and is cut off. Okay, that's fine. One time, I think it says this has been included here on account of its importance. Okay, while being a part of the 11th letter, this has been included here on account of its importance. So one time during my captivity, while gazing at the majestic and wonderful forms of the pine, cedar, and juniper trees on the mountain top, a gentle breeze was blowing, transforming the scene into a magnificent, delightful, and clamorous display of dancing and a rapturous performance of praise and glorification. The enjoyment of watching it was transformed into instruction for my eyes and wisdom for my ears, to instruction for my eyes and wisdom for my ears. I suddenly recalled the Kurdish lines of Ahmad al-Jazri, whose meaning is, everyone has hastened to gaze at you and your beauty. Everyone has hastened to gaze at you and your beauty. Capital U, capital beauty, B. They are acting coyly before your beauty. What is coyly? Never heard of that word. They are acting coyly. Let me look at that up quickly. Coyly means what? Marked by cute, coquettish, or artful. Let's put it artful. Familiarity. So they are acting coyly before your beauty. Shy or modest, often flirtatiously shy or modest. That's how the dictionary defines it. Somebody has put it. Sensitive. Okay, thank you. So they are acting coyly before your beauty. So everyone has hastened to gaze at you and your beauty. They are acting coyly before your beauty. So they know their place in terms of the absolute beauty, I would say. Sensitive is fine, or modest is fine. I think modest is also a good word. Modestly before your beauty. They are acting modestly before your beauty. Maybe we can fit that word. Everyone has hastened to gaze at you and your beauty. They are acting coyly before your beauty. My heart wept as follows, expressing their instructive meanings. My heart wept as follows, expressing their instructive meanings. The meaning of the verses in Persian, written at Tepelici in the mountains of Barla, about the fruit of the pine, cedar, juniper, and black cypress trees is this. So this heart or spirit wept as follows, expressing their instructive meanings. So everyone has hastened to gaze at you, at your beauty. They are acting coyly before your beauty. Living creatures have appeared from everywhere on the face of the earth. That's right. Living creatures have appeared from everywhere on the face of the earth. Your art to gaze on you. Your art to gaze on you. That's an interesting phrase. Living creatures have appeared from everywhere on the face of the earth. Your art. So it is, we see that they are not from themselves, their art or their design, but they're your art, and to gaze on you. What does that mean, to gaze on you? So all these creatures that are here, although, yeah, they are creatures, they are made by an absolute one. We can see that they cannot be existing by themselves, but they are coming, must be coming from someone who has knowledge, will, power, knows what he's doing, conscious, and they're everywhere on the face of the earth. Everything is there. And of course, to me as a conscious being who observes, I can see the art and I can make sense that, yes, they are displaying, manifesting, showing me their art as well as to the one who has given them existence. So they point to his being as well, everything in creation. There's a link from each created being to the creator of that thing. So your art to gaze on you. Anybody else would like to share? Anything on this phrasing, your art to gaze on you? Like, how do we conclude to gaze on the absolute one? So, for example, my being, how am I gazing on him, the one who makes me? How am I seeing him? I'm sure you all have some ideas, some thoughts. So please share that. Go ahead, right straight ahead. All right, quiet crowd, no comments.
I guess anything that we experience, qualities or everything, it's pretty much, it's a way to call our attention to the source of existence of things. So what we experience here is the universe, the order. So living creatures have appeared from everywhere on the face of the earth. Yes, that's what we are interacting with. Your art to gaze on you. So who does all this belong to? Like the qualities, creatures, they're not from themselves. They're brought into existence. Someone is willing them to come into existence. They're presented to me, you, everyone else. And it's the analogy of the art and the artist. We admire the art. From the art, we then admire the artist. Wow, what an amazing job this artist has done. So from everywhere on the face of the earth, your art. So yeah, we're experiencing art of an artist. Without any hesitation, we can say we're experiencing the art of an artist. There's no need to say, oh, there must be an artist. No, it's very obvious. To gaze on you. So pretty much it's more about, wow, thinking about this artist, how wonderful can the artist is. Or you wonder, oh, wow, he did such an amazing job. Wow, I wonder who the artist is. Definitely that's how it starts. So pretty much the gaze part would be not only getting more acquainted with the artist, but when you admire the art, it is as if you're always thinking and talking about the artist. It's breathing the artist remembrance within you. So the gaze is really admiring, acknowledging the artist. Inshallah, that at least to me, that's how I'm viewing it as.
Thank you for sharing that, Fariha. Would anybody else like to share any thoughts, ideas on to gaze on you? It does look like it's taking the perspective of, okay, what does it mean if the things are gazing on the owner of the universe? What do I care really? I mean, they're made by him, but to gaze on him again seems very strange to me, the way the phrasing is. So he'll go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. So I guess what I take from that is it's like, from my perspective, when I see something out in the world, I can only I can only refer back to him. They only point to him. So in other words, they're gazing at him, or they're looking at him. And back to the original line of, everyone has hastened to gaze at you and your beauty. They're acting coyly before your beauty. In other words, they don't. While they demonstrate his beauty, it's like a veil, so to speak, and like they don't demonstrate absolute beauty, but in other words, they are sort of they in their meaningful aspects, you know, they're not shouting at me with words or human language. So look at me, and I look to the my owner, to the owner of absolute beauty, the source of absolute beauty. You know, it requires human consciousness, a sort of subtlety. There's sort of subtlety in a certain veil there behind like the material aspect of things, and behind the material aspect, I guess that's kind of their shyness, so to speak. They demonstrate from their meaningful aspect, the immaterial aspect, that they all look towards him, that they all are looking, are pointing towards him. You know, because he says, my heart wept as follows, expressing their instructive meanings. They're instructing me of who their owner is, who their source of beauty is, the one of absolute beauty. And you know, there's not a place on the face of the earth that I cannot find that I can not find that doesn't reflect his beauty. Like everywhere on the face of the earth, no matter where I turn or look towards, I can always see things gazing at him or looking towards him in a very subtle manner. And most people, we just don't pay attention because it's subtle, it's coy, so to speak, because it's not, it's, while it's obvious if one were reading the universe or really paying attention to the instructive meaning of things, it's easy to just, you know, just disregard it, you know, just go on with life. And it's, in other words, in some sense, that's actually beauty too, the fact that it's so subtle and, you know, like behind a veil, that speaks to beauty too, that like a sort of modesty behind that beauty. So that's kind of what I took from that.
Thank you for sharing that, Suhail. So the shyness and humility behind the veil, so the meaningful side of each and every creature. I mean, so my perspective, as you made the point about, of course, I can only speak from my perspective. And so when I look at the art and I uncover the meaning behind the veil, so I uncover that those things or that qualities I'm uncovering is actually pointing to him. So all those things in that way are gazing at his qualities. I think that helped me. Thank you. Anybody else would like to share anything? So let's continue, because I think this is how he builds up from this phrase, everyone has hastened to gaze at you and your beauty. They are acting coyly, shyly, or humbly before your beauty. So living creatures have appeared from everywhere on the face of the earth, your art to gaze on you. From above and below, they emerge like heralds. So they emerge like heralds proclaiming and call out. The herald-like trees take pleasure at the beauty of your embroideries and they dance. So each and every thing is like a tree that is proclaiming, really, you know, how the tree gets physically, the tree gets our attention. Each and every thing, every creature acts like a herald, calling out, takes pleasure at the beauty of your embroideries. So it takes pleasure. So each and every being, just so we can look at ourselves also, how we take pleasure at the beauty of what we are entertaining ourselves with or enjoying with. Each and everything, I can conclude that yes, even the tree, how there's existing, the animals, the sun, the moon, the wind, everything in creation takes pleasure at the way they're existing, at the beauty, the way they're formed. And they're, of course, it's coming from the one who is the artist of them, or their designer, their embroiderer. And they dance, so they perform, they do whatever they have to do and they dance. They are filled with joy at the perfection of your art. They are filled with joy. They are filled with joy at the perfection of your art and utter most beautiful sounds. It's a good one. So each and every creature in the way they exist. I don't know about human beings, but we should be also filled with joy at the perfection of the art and utter most beautiful sounds. But the birds that are flying are filled with the way they are created, chirping around, making beautiful sounds of music. Babies are happy the way they are created. The trees, ants, frogs, whatever you name them, each and every creature, the way they are created, are filled with joy at the perfection of the art that is on them. Of course, it points to the uncover the veil and points to the absolute artist, the perfection, the absolute perfect one, and utter most beautiful sounds. And they declare that, they proclaim their satisfaction, their appreciation of being connected to the artist of the universe. It is as if the sweetness of their own voices fills them with joy too, and makes them perform a delicate melody. It is as if the sweetness of their own voices fills them with joy too, and makes them perform a delicate melody. In response, the trees have started dancing and are seeking ecstasy. It is through these works of divine mercy that all the living creatures receive instruction. It is through these works of divine mercy that all the living creatures receive instruction in the glorification and prayer particular to each. Oh, so each and everything in the universe, through the work, is the work of the divine mercy that they are receiving instruction, as in inspiration, instruction, as in God inspires the bee. Each and everything, every creature is being inspired and given instruction to glorify in the glorification and prayer according to how they are made. Glorification and prayer particular to each. It is through these works of divine mercy that all the living creatures receive instruction in the glorification and prayer particular to each. After receiving instruction on high rocks, the trees raise their heads to the divine throne. So each and every creature receives inspiration, instruction to glorify and pray according to how they're made. And after receiving that instruction on high rocks, the trees raise their heads to the divine throne. And they all look in their own way to the divine throne. And we discussed that Arsh, the divine throne. Trees raise their heads to the divine throne. So they look to his absoluteness, his qualities. It's interesting, he used the word throne, Arsh, the divine throne. On high rocks, the trees raise their heads to the divine throne. Would anybody like to share their thoughts as to what we've read so far? So the author is sharing how his heart is weeping as follows, or getting the meaning from this phrase. Everyone has hastened to gaze at you and your beauty. They are acting coyly before your beauty. So each and everything in the universe, how is a herald proclaiming and calling out. Calling out to whom? To the one who has art created them, embroidered them, beautified them. And they're all getting inspiration in terms of glorification and prayer, particular to each. So each and every creature, individual, whether it be the bird, the ant, human beings, plants, are all inspired for glorification. I mean, this is from my perspective. I have to see that they are all glorification. Yes, anytime you may hear birds, especially at the morning, early morning Fajr time. And you can hear cicadas in the evenings or some other animals. That's beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm not sure if it caught on the mic, but
No, we couldn't hear.
that's fine. My sister was just sharing about how one has to see how each and everything in creation, especially during the different times of the day that we see that experience, there are birds, there are different sounds and chirping that you hear. Yep, Fajr time, especially. So that's good. Alhamdulillah. So this is all living and experiential. Suhail, go ahead.
So I just wanted to add, it's interesting because he's saying that everything is speaking in its own tongue, so to speak. They bestowed from divine mercy an ability to speak, and therefore provide instruction and glorification of their sort of owner, their maker, their creator. This is in contrast to what we hear every day, in that these objects are inanimate, and he doesn't say it, nor does the Quran say it, or does the Prophet say it. There's a false distinction between animate and inanimate, as if like animate objects have consciousness and inanimate objects don't have consciousness. But the tree is conscious, just like a rock is, just like the water is. They all are in motion and speaking in their own sort of tongue. The water makes the sound, the tree makes the sound when the wind makes the sound, and these are all means to glorify their maker, demonstrating his beauty and his mercy. And it's the human beings that don't necessarily pay attention to it, but if we pay attention, they're means of also instruction. So they're fulfilling two roles, one in which they're instructing me, which is sort of a mercy from him also, that all around me is instruction, but also at the same time they're glorifying their maker in doing so. By instructing me or providing me means to know him, they're also therefore glorifying him because they point to him. They glorify, they have this beauty that they demonstrate, but they glorify him because he's the owner of it. They make known him, they look to him. That's it's in some sense, that is like, going back to his line that he quotes, that the coy aspect of it, in that it's so subtle, or even though it's apparent, but the meaning is so subtle that even that's beautiful. The subtlety of the meaning is beautiful.
Thank you for sharing, Suhail. All right, so any other comment by anyone? Or so good examples about how the water, waterfalls, wind, everything in creation. You made the distinction between conscious and not conscious, unconscious. So these are plants, trees, rocks. So is there a particular distinction you would say in the either conscious? I mean, conscious can glorify consciously, that's correct. As a conscious being, we can, or whenever we choose, we can make the conscious choice to acknowledge the qualities. But even the ones that are less conscious or not that much conscious, the way they're made are glorifying the qualities of their maker. So here's your hand up, or that's from.
Oh, no, no, sorry, but I think you were saying, but the fact that things are made by a conscious creator means things all have consciousness. They just have a degree of consciousness that's appropriate with their sort of reality. Trees are conscious with respect to being a tree, and so is a rock or water. And the fact that, like, I know they must be conscious is because they all sort of have a meaningful aspect. They all look to something beyond themselves. Nothing that's unconscious could do that by definite. Like, it's not possible, to have some sort of immaterial aspect, some meaningful aspect that's not immaterial, that looks to something other than itself, by definition would be conscious. May not be human consciousness, but it's a degree of consciousness appropriate to their being.
Agreed. Thank you for clarifying that. So wherever there is meaning, so that indicates that yes, there is made by a conscious being. The meaning points to a conscious being. All right, so let's move on then. So each, like Shahbaz Qalandar. So Shahbaz Qalandar was, so he was someone, a scholar under the guidance of Sheikh Jilani, who took refuge in the divine court. So by taking refuge in the divine court, rose to the degree of sainthood. So each, like Shahbaz Qalandar, stretches out 100 hands to the court of God and assumes an imposing position of worship. So an example for us, how a human being is capable of using their potentialities to stretch out 100 hands to the court of God or seek refuge at the court of God. Stretching out is seeking refuge there. And assumes an imposing position of worship. So that is what it's a form of worship, and assumes an imposing form of worship. So this is a conscious, voluntary seeking refuge. They make their small tassel-like twigs and branches dance. So both they and those that watch them express their fine pleasure and elevated delight. So what is he talking about? Each, like Shahbaz Qalandar, so each and every, so the beings, all the creatures, living creatures, so they make their smallest tassel-like twigs and branches dance. So they perform, they act continuously. There is motion that is happening. So both they and those that watch them, so they themselves and those that observe and watch them, express their fine pleasure and elevated delight. They give their small tassel-like twigs and branches dance, so both they and those that watch them express their fine pleasure and elevated delight. So such a dynamic universe that each creature is acting in continuously in motion. Maybe we may not see it, but they are continuously in motion. Things are happening. There's meaning that is being conveyed at every moment. So both they and those that watch them, so those that are observant, conscious, and see the beauty of the performance of the dance that each and every creature is making, and they express their fine pleasure and elevated delight. So they connect them to that divine chord, or to the supreme being, the enduring being. And they respond in that way, in a pleasing manner. So they express their fine pleasure and elevated delight. So they give voice as though touching the most sensitive strings and veins of the veils of love. Ah, it is he. They give voice as though touching the most sensitive strings and veins of the veils of love. Ah, it is he. Very interesting phrasing of the sensitive strings and veins of the veils of love. So they go into that ghaibi aspect of the qualities, that relationship of this presence is touching the most sensitive strings and veins of the veils of love. Ah, it is he, realizing that whatever I'm delighting myself with the pleasures that I get, it is he, that is he. So I surrender to that, or connect my being to that source. From it, a meaning such as this comes to mind. A meaning such as this comes to mind. They recall both the weeping caused by the pain of the fading of metaphorical loves and a profoundly sorrowful moaning. So from this realization, a meaning such as this comes to mind. They recall both the weeping caused by the pain of the fading of metaphorical loves and a profoundly sorrowful moaning. They make heard the melancholy songs of all lovers parted from their beloveds, like Sultan Mahmud. I assume that must be a poet or a writer discussing metaphorical loves or something that are within the universe. They're, of course, they are like a reflective kind of loves, which points to the absolutely loving one. So from it comes to mind the word called the weeping caused by the pain of the fading. So the pain of the fading of metaphorical loves. And a profoundly sorrowful moaning. They make heard the melancholy songs of all lovers parted from their beloveds like Sultan Mahmud. They seem to have a duty of making the dead hear the pre-eternal songs and sorrowful voices, who no longer hear worldly voices and words. So they seem to have a duty of making the dead hear the pre-eternal songs and sorrowful voices, who no longer hear worldly voices and words. So the metaphorical love is, I guess, the worldly love. And of course, the worldly love, we know that things are ephemeral, they pass on, they move on. So it's really crazy to be attached to that worldly metaphorical love when all we seek is the eternal love. So, and a profoundly sorrowful moaning. So all those, I guess, poems and songs that have been written about the worldly lovers that have parted. So all those have that significance or that meaning behind them to seek the eternal love. and they don't want to see the temporariness or no longer hear worldly voices and words. The Spirit understands from this that beings respond with glorification to the manifestation of the glorious Maker's name. They perform a graceful chant. So the Spirit understands its need for eternity, that the worldly love is, or the worldly voices and words no longer are sufficient, but you need an eternal voice and words and meaning and satisfaction. And the Spirit is the one that connects and responds back with the glorification to the manifestation of the glorious Maker's name. And they perform a graceful chant. All right, so it touches upon now the spirit of the conscious beings, which understands the reality of the whales, the metaphorical loves, and what it means to surrender to the court of the Absolute One. All right, so I will stop here. I think we can stop here for today, and we can continue next time, inshallah, from the heart reads the mystery of divine unity. If there's any final comment, please go ahead. Thank you for your participation, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana. Innaka anta al-alimul hakim. Wa akhiru da'wahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Bi hurmati surat al-Fatiha.